when you look at this NBA Cup, you have to think about the importance. As a coach, I find a lot of importance. This wasn't a gimmick win. The Knicks earned it the hard way, and it matters in April as Mike Brown continues to build that culture in New York, and now, in my opinion, the Knicks are legit contenders to win the NBA title.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
The Chicago Blackhawks of the National Hockey League are now official partners with Kalshi. It takes effect this week. Each side can use the other's intellectual property for co-marketing purposes, and Kalshi will be promoted during home games at the United Center and on Blackhawks broadcasts. First of its kind, certainly probably not the last as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
When it comes to NAL, money does buy you talent, but it doesn't buy you chemistry, leadership, and wins. Look at St. John's, Kentucky, how they're battling. You need the right mix of experience, youth, and new blood if you're going to really tackle the transfer portal market in NIL and win consistently.
College Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all three Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Kannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here.
Hey everybody, welcome into a New Year's Eve edition of In-Game Live Game Day with Brady Kannon. I am Adam Kaufman. We've got you for the next 3.5 hours, so yeah, plenty of us and a whole lot of you, plus some guests on the way. And Brady, you gotta love New Year's Eve, because not only do we have a rather monumental Saturday-Sunday Week 18 in the NFL to scatter in over the course of this show when we're together New Year's Day, tomorrow, that show, the weekend shows, of course, going to be a whole lot of the two of us. We also, of course, have college football bowl games throughout the day today. Some really fun and exciting ones, either in progress or later on tonight. Obviously, some major marquee programs will be playing. In addition to that, NBA, NHL, college hoops, busy hump day.
What a time of the year. You know, it started really, I want to say, a month and a half ago or so, Thanksgiving. We have that whole football bonanza that goes on during that weekend. You roll into December when NFL football is peaking, and here we are. The college football playoff has now started, round 2 underway really later this evening with Miami and Ohio State. Great bowl games and a good one between Iowa and Vanderbilt that just concluded. The Big Ten continues to flourish in bowl season. The SEC continues to struggle. More good bowl games on tap for later this evening. And I'm looking forward to it, man. Before we know it, it's going to be baseball season. What do we do then?
Whiskey and a revolver, I believe, is what you would tell me. That's
Speaking
what we do
of
at
Nick
that point in time. Yeah, that's right. He will join us on tomorrow's program. That'll be fun. But analysts aplenty over the course of this show. And let's start with college football and the games that are in progress right now. And just, again, a reminder of why there are too many bowls and why bowl season is ultimately kind of watered down and dumb at this point. Just, honestly, some of the sponsorships. You have the ReliaQuest Bowl, which is happening right now. 34-24, actually a pretty good game. Iowa is on top of Vanderbilt. Vandy is in the red zone right now, trying to make this one-possession game, albeit running out of time.
I show it's done.
Did they?
Yeah.
Is that one done? Let me refresh my screen. Maybe everything froze up on me. Oh, you're right. Everything froze up on me. So they made it a one-score game and could get no further. 34-27. Right. I thank you for that. So Iowa caps its season 9-4. Vanderbilt done at 10-3. Fine. They don't exist anymore. They're dead to us. Arizona State is down against Duke right now. I'm up to date on this one. 21-14. Duke is leading this game, but Arizona State with the ball starting deep in its own end. We've got a long way to go in this one. Still about 6 minutes in the opening half. This is the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, just to further emphasize my point here, Brady. And also, early on, 4 minutes to go opening quarter, Michigan and Texas. That's right. Arch Manning is relegated to, playing here on New Year's Eve. Meanwhile, you also have the disaster that is the Michigan football program right now. Even though there are brighter days ahead, at the moment, still not pretty. 3-3 is this game in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. Again, 4 minutes to go in the opening quarter. Just underway, Nebraska at Utah. That one is the Las Vegas Bowl, your backyard. The SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl specifically. So, looking at some live lines at the moment. Duke leading by 7 and currently laying 6.5. The total, live total, 65.5 in this game here, Brady. I remind you, 5 minutes to go in the opening half of this contest. We have 35 points. Lines climb to 67.5 now as Arizona State puts its drive together. Do you think we're going to touch that vicinity of 70 points in this one?
I wouldn't be surprised, Adam. We know Duke can put up points, and that really hasn't been the strong suit of Arizona State all season long. It's really been their defense, and they're missing some key players on offense today as well. Jordan Tyson, he'll be headed for the NFL. Sam Levitt, their quarterback. A lot of opt-outs here for Arizona State. And really, and you're talking about bowl games have lost their luster. Try handicapping these things these days. It's not only, it started with guys sitting out because of the NFL draft. Now you have transfer portal and NIL and coaches. I mean, it's just all over the place. If you're not in the playoff, I mean, who knows what's going to happen in these bowl games. But the last few, USC and TCU last night was outstanding. So, and Iowa and Vanderbilt was just a good one there as well. And this looks like another good one. I think it's an interesting matchup, Arizona State and Duke. Kenny Dillingham's team always comes with effort, despite all the opt-outs, despite all the guys that will not be in this game for the Sun Devils. They're holding close, and I'm surprised. And now it's all the way back down to 3.5. They scored touchdown ASU. My goodness, I just looked up. Yeah. No, and there's the answer to your question. Yeah, I think we're going to, and now the total's at 72.5, jumps up another 7 points. So, yeah, I don't think the scoring is done yet. I wouldn't be surprised if Arizona State won this game. I was going to say there that I would have taken the 6.5 points. I mean, this spread was 3.5 to begin the game. And I found that line very interesting. When everybody knows on paper that Duke has the advantage just in terms of who's going to be playing in the game, yet the line was still basically a field goal. I found that interesting. I know our friend Colby Dance, who we'll have on the show later on today, liked the underdog in this game in Arizona State. I kind of leaned that way as well. So the 6.5 was certainly a green light for me, and now it's 2.5. I don't know if I want that number, but I think we're in for a good one here between the Blue Devils and the Sun Devils.
So to your point, going back to what you were just talking about, and I know on recent shows we've discussed this as well with our various guests and professional handicappers looking ahead to the college football postseason, be it the playoff or just bowl games, if you want to characterize those as postseason games. I guess I'll leave that to your discretion. But you know what to expect in a very general sense from the college football playoff. These teams, they want to win national championships. It's balls to the wall, everybody in, no questions asked, all of that. Unless, of course, I guess the case where you might have a coach leaving a program to go somewhere else, that can throw a wrench in the process. But as you noted, with these games, whether it's coaches coming and going, the transfer portal, guys declaring for the draft so they're sitting out, all the different things that you outlined, it is very difficult to handicap these games going in. But I was chatting with a mutual pal of ours, Sia Najad, yesterday over at CBS, and he was telling me that, he finds that while these games are, again, awful, I mean, such a bear of a task as far as trying to handicap them going in, he finds the in-game wagering for these games to be actually relatively not easy, because that would suggest, gambling's easy, money's free, all that stuff. We know that's not the case, but a much simpler task once you've actually had your eyes on the product and gotten a feel for how a game might be playing out, watch a few drives, and then you could jump in live and maybe find a really good, beneficial angle and handicap and opportunity versus, like maybe it's just smarter to sit it out and wait a little bit and get it going in front of you and then make your decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can make that case for a lot of games, and I don't know if that is especially true for bowl games because I haven't done it personally. I can understand that, and I think kind of the crux of it is, Adam, hey, we don't know a whole lot going in, so let's wait and watch a few series or a half or whatever, and educate ourselves on what these teams are in the way that who is playing, who is showing up, who's in a uniform, because going in, it's not the same team X versus team A that we saw for the last 12, 14 weeks or so. So, yeah, I think from that standpoint, it makes a ton of sense. I think there's games like that in the NFL too, where you're just like, boy, and maybe even week 18 is a great example of that as well. It's a similar handicap where we just don't know we know in some cases who might start at quarterback, but there's a lot of left on the table here as far as unknowns that we don't know coming in. So maybe this, bowl game season in week 18 in the NFL should be called in-game wagering week.
So again, as you noted, 21 apiece, Arizona State and Duke. Duke back with the ball, 3:49 to go in the opening half of that one. Michigan is in the red zone right now. 3.5 on the live line, and just like that, the Wolverines are in. So it's 9-3 leading against Texas. Extra point pending, and that total jumps up to 54.5. We're early in this one, still 3 minutes and change to go in that game. 3 hours it change to go here in this show.
The champagne pops. The clock strikes 12. But New Year's isn't won at midnight. It's won on the gridiron. Every snap, every number, every edge that matters. Don't just watch the ball drop. Watch the odds drop. College football playoff coverage. Live lines. Smart analysis. All New Year's Day. Only on SportsGrid.
I mean, they couldn't get the Arizona State coach to come out. They couldn't get the BYU coach to leave their job. I mean, it's just very odd, I feel, when we watch this whole thing play out and try and really understand what happened here with Michigan not being able to make some of the splashier hires that they thought they were going to be able to make.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
They have by far the highest ceiling out of any team in the league. Elite talent, NBA shot making, versatility, and the best coach in the league in Jon Scheyer. They can beat you in multiple ways. Half court, full court, running gun, walk it up. And they out-execute you, maybe except for that game versus Texas Tech.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
I know exactly what Patriot Nation is screaming this morning. It's Drake May time. Give him the trophy. MVP. Stop it, please. Just sit down. Yes, Drake May has had a nice season. But let's be real. He has played a JV schedule of defenses. He is carving up the easiest slate of defenses in the NFL this season. Congratulations on your beatdown of the Jets.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
In-game live game day here on SportsGrid. Almost Brady said in-game live college football game day because college football has been our focus since we began this program just a little while ago, and a lot of people's focus here on this New Year's Eve with bowl season obviously well underway, the college football playoff resuming real soon too, which will be fun. So Michigan has its touchdown to go up 10-3, currently laying 2.5 despite, of course, this 7-point lead against Texas. The Longhorns with the ball. New set of downs at their own 36. You could jump in on the Texas money line if you wanted to at plus money, right around plus 115. Now we get a rising total, 54.5 in this one. So before we get to Nebraska and Utah and update that one, what's your feel on what we get out of the Wolverines and Longhorns? Is this going to be a back and forth, high scoring affair, as at least the early indications are?
The only underdog that I did not like today was Nebraska. And of course, they're on top early there at Utah. That was a play from our friend Rich Sermonello. He tipped me on Utah, and I tend to agree with that. I think it's an interesting situation there with Kyle Whittingham leaving and what have you. But every other game, I like the underdog. Arizona State, we talked about that one in the last segment. Michigan, Texas has been underwhelming for most of the year. I know you told me about a friend who played the under in this game. I can't disagree with that. You would expect that this game would be dominated by defense. It feels like for Texas, this is one of those typical bowl game scenarios that we see where they don't care about being here. They had higher aspirations. They wanted to be in the playoff. Are they really thrilled with being in Orlando, Florida at the Citrus Bowl? Whereas Michigan, this is probably a good thing for Michigan. And it looks like they're the more inspired team anyway. Catching 6.5, I believe it was 7 maybe prior to kickoff. But now I like the key number under 3, Adam, under a field goal at 2.5. I'd probably lay it with Michigan at 2.5, but maybe the under is a better way to go. It's up about a touchdown from where it was at close in the neighborhood of 48, 48.5. Now we're at 54.5. I think eventually the defense is going to find its way into this game. We know that's really Texas's strength, probably Michigan's strength too. So I don't know. It's hard to say. Sometimes you can throw defense out the window. Apparently that's the case between Duke and Arizona State. Under a field goal, give me the Wolverines for now.
Do you think this game is, I think the decision has probably been made one way or the other, and forgive me if it's already been announced and I missed it, but Arch Manning and his future, obviously his draft stock was much, much higher going into this season than it probably sits right now. That being said, it's not this great QB class, and teams do tend to get stupid out of desperation. There are absolutely some rebuilding teams. Hell, if someone like Arch Manning looked around the NFL in the last couple of weeks and saw some of what was out there, whether backups or third stringers that were getting reps and just, disastrous, guys not even reaching 100 passing yards in a game in this era of football. Do you think that, just sort of the here and now of it all speeds up his leaving college and going pro, or, another year of school, try and improve your reputation basically in terms of your overall play, more success out of Texas, and, oh, by the way, there's all that NIL money, so it's not like he's not making bank anyway?
Well, I'm reading reports, and I believe I read this earlier this week, that he's going to stay. Now, that can change. We know how that goes. But I believe the feeling is right now that he's going to be a Texas Longhorn for another year. And I think a lot of people speculated that earlier in this season when we started to realize, hey, maybe Texas isn't that preseason number 1 that we thought they were. Maybe Arch Manning isn't that number 1 overall draft pick that we thought he was, yada, yada, yada. And it seems like the media was making the decision for him, and apparently he's followed suit here. But yeah, I think we're going to see him at Texas again next year, which is fantastic. Great for college football fans, and I think ultimately it will be best for Arch Manning as well.
Texas is out to the Michigan 27, so very nearly in the red zone, but staring at a 3rd and 6 right now. So need that first down pickup. Otherwise, it'll be a field goal try. So we'll wait that one out. It's end of the first quarter. So timeout, obviously, on the field. And, after they come out of the break, start of the second quarter, things will start to pick up, move relatively quickly. As things stand, Texas, again, is getting 2.5 points, and that total is still sitting at 54.5. So even though this drive has moved very close to the red zone, the total has not jumped at all, which I do find interesting. But Nebraska and Utah, this is now a 7-all game, Brady, and we are halfway, not even, through this opening quarter. 8.5 to go, still in the first frame. And the total is still, given the fact that we have 14 points already, kind of low. 60.5 in this one. And Utah right now is laying 10.5. How do you feel?
Well, I can tell you the weather is very cold here in Las Vegas, relatively speaking, for Las Vegas weather. We're in kind of the mid 50s and it's overcast and it's pretty chilly. And we're headed for colder temperatures here, getting into the low 50s, high 40s as we move later on in through the month of January. We've had such a gorgeous December, really temperatures in the 70s, but now we're feeling it. And there is a possible chance of rain as well. I don't know how that translates into how the scoring might go in this football game. Obviously, they're indoors, so that's not going to really, make a huge amount of effect there. But it doesn't feel like two teams that are bound to score a lot of points to me, Nebraska and Utah. The total coming in here was around 51 and a half. Now we're up to 60. This is kind of that ideal in-game wagering situation where you get a couple of quick scores and bang, that total balloons up and you play the under. That might be the direction I would go. Just kind of in-game 101 theory right there.
Duke's on the board again here, Brady, laying 6.5 once again. So if you want to invest in Arizona State, that's 6.5 there for you. 150 to go, so just inside the 2-minute timeout here in that opening half, and that total continues to jump. We're just south of 80 at 78.5.
I think we're getting to 80 pretty soon. I'd play over the total, Adam. I don't think this is stopping anytime soon. This is happy action, fun time bowl season.
Well, and again, we're at 49 points, not even quite at the half yet. Who's to say you don't get another score in these final 2 minutes, and then that total is up over 80, maybe 83, 84 and a half, whatever it sits at. I would tend to agree with you. 78 and a half. Crazy to say, I realize, but it does feel just a little low. We also do have the resumption of the quarterfinal round of college football playoff. Miami will be taking on
The champagne pops. The clock strikes 12. But New Year's isn't won at midnight. It's won on the gridiron. Every snap, every number, every edge that matters. Don't just watch the ball drop. Watch the odds drop. College football playoff coverage. Live lines. Smart analysis. All New Year's Day. Only on SportsGrid.
I mean, they couldn't get the Arizona State coach to come out. They couldn't get the BYU coach to leave their job. I mean, it's just very odd, I feel, when we watch this whole thing play out and try and really understand what happened here with Michigan not being able to make some of the splashier hires that they thought they were going to be able to make.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
They have by far the highest ceiling out of any team in the league. Elite talent, NBA shot making, versatility, and the best coach in the league in John Shire. They can beat you in multiple ways. Half court, full court, running gun, walk it up. And they out-execute you, maybe except for that game versus Texas Tech.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid. I know exactly what Patriot Nation is screaming this morning. It's Drake May time. Give him the trophy. MVP. Stop it, please. Just sit down. Yes, Drake May has had a nice season. But let's be real. He has played a JV schedule of defenses. He is carving up the easiest slate of defenses in the NFL this season. Congratulations on your beatdown of the Jets. The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Back with you here, in-game live game day with Brady. I am Adam, wrapping up our first hour, really half hour. We started only a little while ago, but you get it. Turn to the new hour coming up in just a little bit. And we haven't gotten off of college football yet because it's just been nonstop scoring in these three games that are happening right now. We're trying to find you some nice live in-game opportunities. It is, pardon me, as I slur my words together, what we do here, Brady. And so just to update people, Duke has again taken a lead 28-21 in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. I'll just call it the Sun Bowl. 35 seconds to go, second quarter. So laying 6.5, up 28-21. Texas just got in, evens up Michigan. So again, points galore. Arch Manning up to 71 passing on 8 of 12 throwing. 10 apiece now in this one in the matchup of a pair of 9-3 teams. About 4 minutes left in the opening half in that game. So it's relatively low scoring. Certainly the pace has come down a little bit. And Nebraska and Utah, that one is still sitting 7 each. 6.5 to go in the first. And that one is at the Las Vegas Bowl, again in your backyard. So Michigan and Texas, let's go back to that one. The total, despite the fact that let me see, are we sitting?
It just went up 3 points.
Right. I want to make sure also that we have the most current clock, because what I was just looking at on my screen, I think it's wrong. So yeah, I'll out the offenders. You tell me what's correct, because I don't have it on a TV in front of me. ESPN is showing me that Michigan and Texas has 3:47 to go in the opening half. However, FanDuel is showing me that Michigan and Texas have almost 14 minutes to go in the second quarter.
Yeah,
that's a big difference.
Right. I have two sources that are telling me 13 minutes and 42 seconds left in the first half. And that makes sense, because Arizona State and Duke, they started, well, that too, but Michigan and Texas started an hour later than Arizona State and Duke. Arizona State and Duke are now about to go to the half. So Michigan and Texas are nowhere near the halftime yet.
No, I don't know what it is about these websites. I realize this is all just, pulling in information from different places. It's automated. It's not like a human sitting there updating things, but I don't know why it has to be so far off. Anyway, Texas is laying 2.5 right now, and favorites, obviously, on the money line fairly considerably, minus 162, and that total 57.5. So I was going to say, it feels like a relatively low-scoring game, 10-10, almost halftime. Sure, except that's not the case. We're barely underway in the second quarter, which is why you got a total pushing 60. Do you think, and I know I asked this coming off of essentially back-to-back touchdowns, but do you think this game is going to push towards 60 points, or does it slow down a little bit?
I think you're probably going to get some more points, but like I said before, I lean towards the under. I mean, this was 48.5 prior to kickoff today. And now, we're almost 10 points higher than that. And I believe the expectation was, just given the framework of these two teams, and really, all season long, that's been Texas's strength is defense. We know that's been a hallmark for Michigan really for decades, if not the beginning of that football program forever. It just feels like this game is eventually going to live up to that type of billing, where it's going to be more defensive. So is it going to touch 60? It might. I would certainly jump in on the under at that point.
Brady, I mentioned, obviously, we got the continuation of the college football playoff later on. It's a big game, quarterfinal round, and it's Miami, Ohio State, two top 10 teams in the country. OSU is laying almost 10 points, 9.5, where I'm looking at the moment. It is a low total, 40.5. I know we're going to have plenty of time to preview this game throughout the show, but some introductory thoughts here in the couple of minutes we have left in this segment.
Yeah, and I do want to point out, it looks like Duke and Arizona State is going to expire here as far as the first half. Duke has the ball currently 3rd and 2, deep in their own territory, 17 seconds left. But they're up by 4, 28-24, and in-game, Arizona State's catching 4.5. That's a key number. The Sun Devils get the ball to begin the second half. I would take those points right now. I think that's an advantageous spot for a Sun Devil team that's been right there with Duke the entire time. So anyway, now coming up, what do you got? About 3.5 hours from now in Texas, the Cotton Bowl, Miami and Ohio State. It's a tough one, and now we're going to break, but we can get to it on the other side. I apologize.
Oh, you got plenty of time. All good. And also, we won't be on for this game, but Scott Wetzel and Gabe Morency will all throughout. So go nowhere. SportsGrid has you covered throughout this New Year's Eve holiday.
The champagne pops. The clock strikes 12. But New Year's isn't won at midnight. It's won on the gridiron. Every snap, every number, every edge that matters. Don't just watch the ball drop. Watch the odds drop. College football playoff coverage. Live lines. Smart analysis. All New Year's Day. Only on SportsGrid.
I mean, they couldn't get the Arizona State coach to come out. They couldn't get the BYU coach to leave their job. I mean, it's just very odd, I feel, when we watch this whole thing play out and try and really understand what happened here with Michigan not being able to make some of the splashier hires that they thought they were going to be able to make.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
They have by far the highest ceiling out of any team in the league. Elite talent, NBA shot making, versatility, and the best coach in the league in John Shire. They can beat you in multiple ways. Half court, full court, running gun, walk it up. And they out-execute you, maybe except for that game versus Texas Tech.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid. I know exactly what Patriot Nation is screaming this morning. It's Drake May time. Give him the trophy. MVP. Stop it, please. Just sit down. Yes, Drake May has had a nice season. But let's be real. He has played a JV schedule of defenses. He is carving up the easiest slate of defenses in the NFL this season. Congratulations on your beatdown of the Jets. The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Hour 2, IGL Game Day here on SportsGrid. We got you for the next 3 hours with Brady Kannon and Adam Kaufman, talking all things college football, at least right now. We will get to the NFL, college basketball, NBA, NHL. Who knows what we were going to sprinkle in throughout this show. NBA guaranteed coming up in about 14 or so minutes. Nick Hamady, old friend of ours, is going to join us on the show, talk through some of that, some college hoops as well. You got games all throughout the day, so that's always fun. But let's circle right back. I know we're going to preview Miami and Ohio State, but I'm going to put that on hold, pinning that for just a second here, Brady, because
we've got more scoring on the way. I mean,
honestly,
forget these unders I'm talking about.
Across, it feels like every game. So again, Duke is midfield right now, nearing the half, not quite there, but final 10 seconds, continuing to lead by 4, as you noted. Everything is locked up on my screen, but up 28-24. Last we saw a total just sub 80 points, 54 already scored in this one. You were wise to say jump on Arizona State plus 6.5 before that field goal, and it moved to plus 4.5, but yep, unlocked. That's where it still is right now. Yeah, and 78.5 live total. And I agree with you. I think we're going to get there. I would bank on 80 plus. Meanwhile, Michigan, I said, is this game going to slow down? Are we going to continue to get scoring at this rate? Touchdown kind of thing. Well, Wolverines are right back in the red zone and in
right
touchdown.
Back in the end zone.
17-10. Yeah, from the red zone to the end zone. 17-10.
This is crazy, man.
It is nuts. 62.5 is the total in this one against Texas. So Longhorns will have a chance to answer and plenty of time to work with. Still 10 minutes to go in the first half, but now it is Michigan with a 2.5 point live line. So this keeps flipping around as well. We talked about this last show that we were together, looking for these, if you're this type of bettor, not everybody is, but looking for the game scripts that give you these arbitrage opportunities to where you can just kind of keep jumping in, depending on what you want to on either side at plus money, kick up your feet, rocking chair win, as you would say, depending on where you invest and for how much and all of that. But again, you're getting Texas right around plus 120, what was minus 170 almost 5 minutes ago.
I think you could do that with all three of these games going on right now. And by the way, Nebraska just scored 2. Touchdown is the appetizer of the day right now. So Nebraska now up 14-7 on Utah, and they're 200, 2-1 plus 200, 2-1 on the money line are the Cornhuskers. Texas is plus 122, and Arizona State plus 164. I might try a little piece of each one of them. And you have to believe between now and, say, middle of the fourth quarter or something, the other side's going to get into a plus money situation as well. And you could end up exactly with what you're talking about there. And, again, sit back, rocking chair winner either way with both sides at a nice plus money price, you turn a profit.
Again, 62.5. Michigan will be kicking the ball off. Nebraska and Utah, everything is locked up. The Utes right now it's unlocked. 63.5, the total in this game. So all of 3 of these games, to your point, have live totals north of 60 points, which is great. It's entertaining. It's fun, unless you bet unders. Not as much fun right now. But Utah's already approaching midfield. And this, by the way, is still a game that's in the first quarter, despite the 21 points that we've seen so far. Utah,
I can't believe almost to mid.
6.5 Utah, despite trailing by a touchdown. Is that advantageous for you?
I think so. I mean, this was a 14 to 14.5 point favorite prior to kickoff, and now you're getting it at less than a touchdown. Doesn't look too bad, but boy, the way these things are going, the dogs are hanging around up and down the board here in every game, and even it looks like there's a good chance that maybe a couple of them, if not all 3 of them, will win outright. If you look at these totals prior to kickoff, Arizona State and Duke was 49. That's almost 30 points higher than where we were. Michigan and Texas was 48.5. That's more than 2 touchdowns higher than where we were. Nebraska is about 11, 12 points. That was 51.5 prior to kickoff. Miami and Ohio State, I'm showing 41 here. We've got 40.5. We'll see what happens to that one. But that's an interesting thing too, Adam. I think right now it's really hard to pull the trigger on an in-game under because what we have seen so far. But with these totals skyrocketing the way they are, there's got to be a point where you're like, okay, this is the threshold. This is where I'm diving in, because you just have to expect at some point these numbers are going to slow down and start to come back towards the original number.
So to deliver on our promise, Miami and Ohio State, again, quarterfinal game, college football playoff. This one's about 3.5 hours away, and you were just starting before the break to dive into your handicap of this one. Ohio State, interestingly, I don't know exactly why, but in the last 10 minutes since I first brought up this game and we were about to delve into it, the line on FanDuel, where I'm looking, has moved from Ohio State minus 9.5 to minus 8.5. So you got money continuing to come in here on Miami and push things in the other direction. What do you think of the move?
I would agree. It was 10. So it's been a steady stream of Hurricanes money here. And I think it's all about this defense. I mean, you could argue maybe they're the best defense in the country. The defensive line, that title might belong to Texas Tech, but, I think the Hurricanes defensive line is outstanding. We saw they held Texas A&M to 3 points a couple weeks ago. And if you look at Ohio State, now they probably have more talent than anybody in the country. I think you could obviously power rate them. You look at their odds, what have you. They're probably figured to be the best team in the country. And it's going to be very hard to stop them. And I'm not sure if Miami can win this game, but I think they can stay within the number. Hopefully you got a 9.5. Hopefully you got a 10. I'd probably still take 8.5. I wouldn't want to go down to 7. I could see Ohio State winning this by 7 points. But at the same time, look at Ohio State when they have played elite defenses this season, like Miami. Okay, they lost to Indiana in the Big Ten championship. 13-10 was that final. And we go back to Arch Manning in Texas to begin the season. And as disappointing as that was for everybody in Texas and Arch Manning and yada, yada, that game was only 14-7. They held Ohio State to 14 points. So they have struggled against the best defenses in the country. And Miami, I think, certainly fits that description. I think I would want to play under the total here. That's the way we've seen the money come as well, Adam. I remember this was as high as, I think, 42.5. I'm not sure if it touched 43, but now in some spots we're down to 40. Maybe we get to 39. I think if you made me bet both the side and the total, it would be Miami and the under for me.
So I was just going to ask you, I've seen obviously different people bet this game in different ways. One thing that I just found intriguing and jumped out at me, and the total has moved a little bit here, but I saw one person, rather than taking Ohio State laying the points, maybe it's a little bit of a bet against Ohio State's offense in some ways as well, and on the defense, the bet was Miami under the team total. Now, where I'm looking, I'm seeing 14.5. I think it was as high as another point or two above that, depending on when you place the bet and where, obviously, but you're still getting a key number in that as long as Miami doesn't score 2 touchdowns or doesn't get more than a touchdown and 2 field goals, you hit your bet, obviously. Would you rather place under 14.5 for Miami or lay the number with Ohio State?
Gosh, good question. I wouldn't want to lay it with Miami, but lay it with Ohio State. But I don't know if I want to play under Miami's team total because for me, Adam, it feels too reactionary to what we just saw in the game against Texas A&M. I hate to just go off of what we saw last. I think that is a fatal flaw in handicapping, whether it be college or the NFL. Teams, it's a body of work. Every game is a new week. It's not just what we saw last. That recency bias, I think, tends to cloud a perception. So just because that last game was very low scoring, I think it tells us about the defense. Carson Beck's been playing very well as of late. Could he put up 21 points on the board? Sure he could. So no, I don't really want to go there.
If you needed any further evidence of recency bias, single games impacting bodies of work, I hope you were tracking the NFL MVP movement during the Rams game the other night. My goodness, those.
The champagne pops. The clock strikes 12. But New Year's isn't won at midnight. It's won on the gridiron. Every snap, every number, every edge that matters. Don't just watch the ball drop. Watch the odds drop. College football playoff coverage. Live lines. Smart analysis. All New Year's Day. Only on SportsGrid.
I mean, they couldn't get the Arizona State coach to come out. They couldn't get the BYU coach to leave their job. I mean, it's just very odd, I feel, when we watch this whole thing play out and try and really understand what happened here with Michigan not being able to make some of the splashier hires that they thought they were going to be able to make.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
They have by far the highest ceiling out of any team in the league. Elite talent, NBA shot making, versatility, and the best coach in the league in John Shire. They can beat you in multiple ways. Half court, full court, running gun, walk it up. And they out-execute you, maybe except for that game versus Texas Tech.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid. I know exactly what Patriot Nation is screaming this morning. It's Drake May time. Give him the trophy. MVP. Stop it, please. Just sit down. Yes, Drake May has had a nice season. But let's be real. He has played a JV schedule of defenses. He is carving up the easiest slate of defenses in the NFL this season. Congratulations on your beatdown of the Jets. The early line, only on SportsGrid.
We're back, and it's time to get into some hoops. Been nothing but football, and specifically college football, along the way. But about 45 minutes in, we turn the page for at least a little while. I'm sure we'll mix in some football with our guest here, Nick Hamady, old friend of the program, kind enough to join us here on this New Year's Eve holiday. Before, I'm sure, Nick, a big night of just going out on the town and ringing in the new year, right?
Yeah. Thank God I decided not to go to Atlanta to watch this Timberwolves game because they are a dumpster fire right now. But we will, we'll be going out. We'll be doing something, maybe a little house party out in Scottsdale tonight for New Year's.
There you go. Well, let's start in the NBA and these games that are in progress right now. You said it, your Timberwolves getting walloped at the moment in Atlanta, but you know the Wings there are pretty good from what I hear. 70-49 is the score in this one. Meanwhile, from Magic City to the Magic, 66-64. Orlando is leading at Indiana. This game is nearing halftime. Midway through the second, Cavaliers up 46-28 at home against the anemic Suns. So 3 games, 2 of which are complete and utter blowouts at the moment, and that on the heels of a nice high-scoring, entertaining Warriors win at the Hornets. Did you have anything on these 3 games right now or anything live-wise that you would jump in on?
Yeah, I was going to be all over the Timberwolves and Hawks game over if Trae Young was ruled in, but Trae Young was ruled out last minute. I'm actually taking a peek at Jonas Valanciunas to go over 25.5 points and rebounds later today. We saw what happened to Jokic. Thank God he didn't tear his ACL, but he is out. He's going to be out for the foreseeable future, and someone has to fill that void. I left the assists out because I think I saw Valanciunas only has about 35 assists the entire season so far this year, but he's gonna have to be strong against Pirtle. I expect him to be able to do it. He'll get a ton of minutes. They don't have a ton of depth outside of Jokic and Valanciunas at the center position, and he's averaging 39.3 points and rebounds per 40 minutes this season. I expect him to play about 40 minutes tonight without Jokic in the lineup.
Nick, I want to ask you about what looks to be a good game. Maybe it's a preview of the NBA Finals. Would you go that far? San Antonio and the New York Knicks? Maybe not, but a good long shot bet anyway. The Spurs, 2.5-point favorites at home. Good looking affair down in Texas.
That's a tough one. I feel like every time I've started to believe in Wemby outside of the Thunder games and the Spurs, they have not followed through as a favorite against these top teams in the NBA. It's a really tough matchup. Now you talk about who's going to make it to the finals. I would love to see the Spurs knock off OKC in the playoffs. I cannot stand this OKC team. Maybe it's because they knocked out the Wolves. Maybe it's because they're the most annoying group of players I've ever seen in my entire life. I would love to see the Spurs do it. The Knicks out of the East would not shock me one bit. I'm seeing the Celtics start to get some steam in Vegas, especially right now. I would like to ride the Knicks out a little bit more than the Celtics right now, even with Jason Tatum coming back. You've seen the Knicks. They have depth. They've been able to do it right now with a lot of injuries. And when they got Brunson, they got Towns, they got Bridges rolling, this lineup is tough to beat. And when OG's in the lineup and he's playing strong on defense, not only can this team score into the 130s, they can hold an opponent down below 100 if they really have to. The Knicks this year seem like they're starting to grow into themselves a little bit more out of the East. With the West, as we've mentioned, you got OKC. You've got the Spurs who can knock off OKC. And then you have a lot of teams like the Lakers, the Wolves, the Rockets, who, in my opinion, have been disappointing and have not shown the ability to keep up with the top teams. The Nuggets with Jokic healthy are the other team that really have a strong chance for me.
Thunder play later on during the 8 o'clock Eastern window at home against the Trailblazers. I mean, it should be a cakewalk of a game, obviously, laying 15.5 here in this one. But I guess probably circling back to your main point, you seem to believe the Thunder are vulnerable this year, huh? I mean, I know they've slowed down and they're not necessarily on that same historic pace they were through the first 25, 30 games in, but even still, I mean, this is a hell of a team, a champion last year, obviously, and it seems like the only team that's really had their number thus far is, of course, as you alluded to, San Antonio.
Yeah, Portland got that crazy lucky win earlier in the year where nothing went right for OKC. So OKC has lost already to Portland this season, which I think is going to make them show up a little bit stronger today. I think one thing that I've noticed with a trend around the NBA, especially today, was these under-overs were crazy inflated high. And that's starting to show, like, Vegas is getting impatient with the defense in the NBA right now. We had, I think, 3 totals today, over 243 points. I'm not surprised. I think this game's another game that's probably totaled too high. But then again, the Thunder might just run it up against a Portland team that they've struggled against earlier in the season, as I mentioned. And the Thunder are trying to get back on the rails right now. I think they're 6-4 in their last 10. For the Thunder, that's not good. This is a team that we were talking about being on a historic pace to keep up with what Golden State did, years back. The Thunder are a team I would hope are vulnerable. I don't know if they're really vulnerable. What's happened against the Spurs is mind-blowing. If they run into the Spurs or the Nuggets in the playoffs, I feel better going against the Nuggets as a Timberwolves fan, or a Spurs team, or the Rockets. Any of those other teams out of the West, as a Timberwolves fan, I'd rather play than OKC still.
Nick, let's flip over to college basketball. I know you've got a game that piques your interest in the Big East. UConn, one of the best teams in the country, once again, will take on Xavier. And Richard Pitino, it's been a bit of a struggle there so far with his new team, the Musketeers. They're not good at foul shooting. They are basically a live and die by the three-pointer, and that's where this game gets interesting, I believe. If they do happen to be hot tonight from beyond the arc, I think they can stay inside this big number.
Yeah, I think that's what's interesting. 11.5 for UConn. I'm actually going to roll on the other side of UConn shuts down what Xavier wants to do offensively, and Xavier can't stop what UConn wants to do. So for me, I'm looking at the fact that Xavier is 31st in their reliance on the for the three-point shot, and they're going up against a team that does not give up a lot of three-pointers. I trust UConn to get it done. 11.5, I know sounds big, but it's just a strength versus a weakness matchup, in my opinion, for UConn to actually blow out Xavier.
That's one of 3 games involving ranked teams in college basketball today. Of course, that one gets you started in about 45 minutes. But in overtime, Virginia and Virginia Tech in that rivalry game right now. And at the moment, the Cavaliers up by 1 with about 90 seconds to go. Meanwhile, Georgia Tech and Duke. Duke is trailing, if you can believe it, at home by a couple of points. Only midway through that opening half, though, so there's a long ways to go. You guys are never going to believe this before we go to break. Texas scored. So Michigan and Texas, 17 apiece here in that one, about 6.5 to go in the opening half. We'll be next.
The champagne pops. The clock strikes 12. But New Year's isn't won at midnight. It's won on the gridiron. Every snap, every number, every edge that matters. Don't just watch the ball drop. Watch the odds drop. College football playoff coverage. Live lines. Smart analysis. All New Year's Day. Only on SportsGrid.
I mean, they couldn't get the Arizona State coach to come out. They couldn't get the BYU coach to leave their job. I mean, it's just very odd, I feel, when we watch this whole thing play out and try and really understand what happened here with Michigan not being able to make some of the splashier hires that they thought they were going to be able to make.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
They have by far the highest ceiling out of any team in the league. Elite talent, NBA shot making, versatility, and the best coach in the league in John Shire. They can beat you in multiple ways. Half court, full court, running gun, walk it up. And they out-execute you, maybe except for that game versus Texas Tech.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid. I know exactly what Patriot Nation is screaming this morning. It's Drake May time. Give him the trophy. MVP. Stop it, please. Just sit down. Yes, Drake May has had a nice season. But let's be real. He has played a JV schedule of defenses. He is carving up the easiest slate of defenses in the NFL this season. Congratulations on your beatdown of the Jets. The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
So it wasn't just Texas scoring against Michigan, 17 all. Utah has answered back with its touchdown, so 14 apiece now with Nebraska. That game is early on in the second quarter, only about 5 minutes gone by, so we got plenty of time for more points in that half. Meanwhile, Arizona State and Duke, should be kicking off with the third quarter here momentarily. Blue Devils continuing to lead that game 28-24. Nick Hamady, the real Tiny Nick on Twitter. Zone coverage, of course, senior sports writer joining us here. We were doing some NBA, some college basketball. Let's get to some NFL because should be a fun Saturday, Sunday ahead of us here, Nick. And I guess to start, and I know there are some marquee games and playoff implications and specific things to throw at you, but just in terms of how you go about handicapping this week and knowing there are some teams with nothing to play for. You may have teams that are resting starters. For instance, we already know the Chargers are doing that against the Broncos, basically handing over that 1 seed for Denver in the AFC in a first-round bye unless they play with their food and lose the way they almost did to the Chiefs last week. What are you looking for?
Yeah, it's so tough. I just did Tiny Nick's Giant Picks, my podcast, Week 18, and it was a tough episode to get through because there's so many moving pieces and you really don't know what's happening. I do want to just mention, Brady, you made a great point on that Xavier game with the three-point shooting. I just want to touch back on UConn is actually fourth nationally in three-point defense, which is another reason why I do think that it's a strong matchup for UConn there. But when I'm looking at the NFL right now, I'm taking a peek at player prop incentives. I'm looking at guys that are looking at bonuses. I'll give you a couple examples really quick right off the cuff, like Hunter Henry, needs 5 catches for $250,000. That's something I'm taking a peek at. His receptions line is usually 3.5 to 4.5. So for him to get another extra catch in there, probably worth it to take a peek at. A guy like Rico Dowdle needs 1 touchdown for another $250,000 bonus. His anytime touchdown props coming in at plus 125 right now. Hollywood Brown, I joke around with, he's going to have to deal with a backup quarterback situation, and God knows if they'll even have 120 yards through the air. But he needs 102 yards for a $625K bonus, as well as 1 touchdown for $750,000. There's a lot of reasons that guys are looking to play this week in Week 18. Another thing I'm looking at is like young guys that are looking to, build out a role for themselves for next year. They're putting in effort. And then obviously you have the playoff implications, the teams that need to win this week for seeding, whether it's to get into the playoffs, whether it's not to get into the playoffs. I think the NFL did a decent job this year of playing the games earlier in the day that, you have to see how those are dictated before the next team kicks off to know if they're going to play their starters or not. But there's still a couple of holes there where if one team loses, another team might not play their guys. I'm taking a look at the 49ers game, for example, as a game that I think is very competitive. It's one of the more fun games. It has more of a wild card weekend feel to it, looking ahead to next week. The 49ers, if they can win this game at home, obviously they get the 1 seed in the entire NFC right now. Who saw that coming earlier in the year when we had Mac Jones playing all the minutes that he was playing? Mac Jones, I think, he kept their season alive to the point that Brock Purdy's been able to come back and show why he's gotten paid the big bucks. I think everybody forgot how good Brock Purdy is. Another game I'm looking at is the Rams in the first half. You don't know what's going to happen in the second half for a Rams team that, they don't really have a ton to play for here. The last meeting was after an ugly Rams loss at NFC South against an NFC South team, and they bounced back with a 24-10 halftime lead. I think Stafford's going to get it back on the rails after a couple bad games. I'm just taking a look at a couple things like that. I mentioned the 49ers game. Sam Darnold, whether they win or lose, positive or negative script, I think he's going to have a big game. I'm looking at him to have over 1.5 touchdown passes. And the reason for that is, although the 49ers I just mentioned are a strong team, their defense has looked rough. And they're scoring into the 30s every week right now. I would take a peek at the 49ers game offense as well, or over as well against the Seahawks.
Nick, you talk about, and I wholeheartedly agree with you, how difficult the handicap is in Week 18. It's almost like college football bowl games these days. You don't know who's going to play, opt-outs, this, that, and the other. It's kind of similar in Week 18 in the NFL. Are there any of these quote-unquote meaningless games that you feel strongly about?
I would take a peek at the Cowboys-Giants first half over 25.5. Both of these defenses have been historically bad throughout the season. I think we'll see enough of Dak in the first half. We know we're getting dart for the probably entire game. I think 25.5 for the first half is too low for these two terrible defenses.
Again, the real Tiny Nick on Twitter, zone coverage, senior sports writer, good friend of the program here on SportsGrid. Nick, Happy New Year to you. Hopefully it's a fun, restful night. Feel better. Get rid of that cold.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
We'll be back.
The champagne pops. The clock strikes 12. But New Year's isn't won at midnight. It's won on the gridiron. Every snap, every number, every edge that matters. Don't just watch the ball drop. Watch the odds drop. College football playoff coverage. Live lines. Smart analysis. All New Year's Day. Only on SportsGrid.
I mean, they couldn't get the Arizona State coach to come out. They couldn't get the BYU coach to leave their job. I mean, it's just very odd, I feel, when we watch this whole thing play out and try and really understand what happened here with Michigan not being able to make some of the splashier hires that they thought they were going to be able to make.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
They have by far the highest ceiling out of any team in the league. Elite talent, NBA shot making, versatility, and the best coach in the league in John Shire. They can beat you in multiple ways. Half court, full court, running gun, walk it up. And they out-execute you, maybe except for that game versus Texas Tech.
Basketball today, only on SportsGrid. I know exactly what Patriot Nation is screaming this morning. It's Drake May time. Give him the trophy. MVP. Stop it, please. Just sit down. Yes, Drake May has had a nice season. But let's be real. He has played a JV schedule of defenses. He is carving up the easiest slate of defenses in the NFL this season. Congratulations on your beatdown of the Jets. The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Back here with you, in-game live game day. Let's go back around what we've got going on in sports, professional and college at the moment. So earlier, as mentioned, the Warriors took care of the Hornets 132-125 in that one. Steph Curry 26, outdueled by LaMelo Ball 27, but joke's on him. Again, Golden State won that game, improving to 18-16. So, really Golden State kind of where I figured the Warriors would be going into the year. To me, this was a team that was bottom of the West in terms of the playoff teams, top six, bottom of the West, play-in tournament, that range, certainly not high expectations of the contenders, of which there are really, it's Oklahoma City, Denver with a healthy Jokic. We'll see what that looks like in about 4 weeks. Houston, obviously, the Lakers overachieving for my money, but the Hornets doing what most people expected, which is just playing abysmally and falling to 11-22. The games that are in progress right now: Hawks hammering Knicks, Timberwolves at home, no less, 85-66 now. Jalen Johnson has 24, and Anthony Edwards up to 30 already. About 5 minutes to go in the third quarter of that game. But again, underwhelming season so far for Atlanta. A lot of injuries, guys in and out of the lineup. See if the Hawks can use this one to kind of springboard off into a better direction, get themselves out of a play-in tournament mix as they sit 4 games below 500 at the moment. The Magic, back and forth with the Pacers, early third as that second half is just underway. Paolo Banchero on his way to a double-double, sitting 13-8 right now. The Suns are, clawing back a little bit, having a nice second quarter, +6 in the quarter at Cleveland. It's a 13-point lead now for the Cavaliers, 65-52, nearing halftime. And in this one, Donovan Mitchell, 16. It's Dylan Brooks who's gone on a quick surge. He had 12 points a blink ago, up to 18 now. So it's been quiet for Devin Booker, still in single digits, but Brooks, pardon me, carrying the load right now in what, again, is probably not a high scoring affair, especially compared to some of the totals that we were touching on before, but there are plenty on the way a little bit later. By the way, Mitchell with a three-pointer, or a deep two anyway, 21 feet. So he's up to 18. We have another, basically the way the NBA is doing this, by the way, you've got sort of a first slate of the day and a later slate of the day. Pelicans and Bulls, that one's coming up in about 2.5 hours. Knicks, Spurs, same deal. Nuggets, Raptors, Wizards, Bucks, and Trailblazers and Thunder. I think there are some games in there that are going to get lopsided in a hurry as well. Checking back to college football. So third quarter is underway. Arizona State with the ball. Remember, it was plus 4.5 when we were last talking about the Sun Devils. We'll see what they can do here, but they're just outside the red zone of the Duke 21. So looks like a fumble. Never mind. Duke has taken it back, 1st and 10 at the 8 off the fumble. So Brady, that's as good a place as any for us to start. Duke was looking like it was about to, either cut that lead to 1 point, maybe even go down a few points in that contest. Instead, a little bit of defensive heroics and carelessness on offense lead to a turnover on, possession, and the Blue Devils are back in control here. Still 13.5 to go in that third quarter.
I was just about to say Duke is up against it on both the football field and the hardwood. Right now, only a 1-point lead over Georgia Tech. You touched on this game briefly when we had Nick Hamady on in the first segment. Just under 7 minutes left in the first half. Duke leads 30-29. And Adam, they were a 27.5-point favorite over the Yellow Jackets. They lead by 1. So Georgia Tech absolutely showing up on the hardwood. And I was about to say, here comes Arizona State. We talked about the fact that they were getting the ball first out of the half, and they're driving it right down the field, and then they commit a turnover. Really costly. We were talking about this, Tom Vecchio and I, in the game between the Chicago Bears and the San Francisco 49ers the other night, Sunday Night Football. And we felt like the first team to flinch, like if you kick a field goal, that's a loss. That's like making a par on a hole that everybody birdies, and turning it over in a game like this where everybody's just going back and forth. That could be deadly here for Arizona State and Arizona State backers, especially to start the second half. So now Duke dodges a bullet. You would expect that they're going to go on offense. Arizona desperately needs a stop right here to kind of hold serve again, or break serve, if you will, and get the ball back where they can just get in this seesaw affair again.
The other games that we still have right now, that's obviously the Sun Bowl. Over at the Citrus Bowl, Texas has the ball and sitting at the Michigan 21, so more points may be on the way in that one. 17 apiece, a minute to go in the opening half. So, Brady, since it was really we're just at a point where it's touchdowns galore, obviously. I realize not to the point of maybe some of these other contests, but you are pacing in the direction of 70 points in this one. Everything is locked up at the moment. I want to get the latest lines, although I can tell you definitively Texas is going to be a considerable favorite on the money line and decent size when it comes to the points as well. I'm curious if the total is going to have us around 70 quite yet, or maybe still just a little bit below, where it's looking like the Longhorns may tack on some points. So well below, actually. So 4.5 is what Texas is laying, minus 250 on the money line, but the total is 62.5.
62.5 is, you've got 34 points on the board right now. You figure
we might get another touchdown in a minute, though.
Right. It's 3rd and 10, though. I think you're probably going to be held to 3. So that gives you 37 points. You're probably looking at 37 at the half. The 62.5 feels like the right number to me, Adam. I don't know if I could do anything with that. I'd probably take the 4.5 with Michigan, but I kind of hate doing that as well, because prior to kickoff, when we were obviously tied at 0-0, you could have had 6.5 or 7. So
right.
And now all of a sudden it goes down to 2.5. This maybe something bad happened here. I don't know. In fact, it looks like a loss. Yeah. Maybe a sack taking them out of field goal range. Botch snap, I guess. So 4th and 32 now, Adam, for Texas. 39 seconds left in the half. See, now you've got a situation where the Longhorns are laying 2.5. I talked about Michigan laying 2.5 earlier. That's a good number. For whatever team you like here, under a field goal is a good position. I think we're probably going to go to the half tied. 39 seconds. They're going to have to punt this ball at 4th and 32 from the Michigan 43-yard line. They're outside of field goal range in my estimation. So, and now the totals creep down to 60.5. The odds makers seem to have this one nailed. Yeah, we go back to these pregame numbers, right? The total in this game was 48.5. And we said it was eventually going to start coming back towards the original number. It feels like maybe this is the first sign of things starting to regress a little bit.
Meanwhile, Brady, no regression of offense in this Utah-Nebraska game. So Utah has been down a touchdown multiple times in this game, and we keep saying, oh, -6.5. Look at what the spread was. You're getting some value on that. Every time Utah answers, obviously, that increases, it inflates. In fact, just a moment ago, this is before it fell to 3rd and 7 with Utah having the ball at the Nebraska 10. So it's looking like maybe 3 on the way. We'll see. But just prior to that, Utah was laying 13.5. Now it's dropped back down to 9.5 right now. When it was 13.5 and it looked like a touchdown was coming, I was going to ask you, hey, is this a buy spot? It was a buy spot at -6.5 for Utah. Is this a buy spot on the other side now for Nebraska? And you're, either investing for the first time, maybe trying the middle, whatever the case, but looking like it's going to be a Utah field goal here. And that, assuming everything is fine because it's a chip shot inside 30, will make it 17-14.
I think the odds makers are already building in. In fact, the field goal has posted here. It's up and good. So 17-14 indeed in favor of the Utes. About 4 minutes and 13 seconds left to go in the second quarter here before halftime. I think under 10 is not bad, Adam. The way this game has gone, certainly Nebraska putting up a fight, but will they be able to put up a fight for 60 minutes? That's the way I think you have to think about an underdog in both college football and the NFL. And we've talked about it before. It's a great bet. If you like the underdog, sometimes it's a great bet to just bet them in the first half. Because a lot of times the favorite will eventually impose its will and wear that underdog out as the full game goes on.
We'll continue to track these games, look around some of the other sports, and Brady and I haven't even touched on the NFL. And
The champagne pops. The clock strikes 12. But New Year's isn't won at midnight. It's won on the gridiron. Every snap, every number, every edge that matters. Don't just watch the ball drop. Watch the odds drop. College football playoff coverage. Live lines. Smart analysis. All New Year's Day. Only on SportsGrid.
I mean, they couldn't get the Arizona State coach to come out. They couldn't get the BYU coach to leave their job. I mean, it's just very odd, I feel, when we watch this whole thing play out and try and really understand what happened here with Michigan not being able to make some of the splashier hires that they thought they were going to be able to make.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
They have by far the highest ceiling out of any team in the league. Elite talent, NBA shot making, versatility, and the best coach in the league in John Shire. They can beat you in multiple ways. Half court, full court, running gun, walk it up. And they out-execute you, maybe except for that game versus Texas Tech.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid. I know exactly what Patriot Nation is screaming this morning. It's Drake May time. Give him the trophy. MVP. Stop it, please. Just sit down. Yes, Drake May has had a nice season. But let's be real. He has played a JV schedule of defenses. He is carving...
No scoring changes in these 3 college football games, these bowl games,
What?
since we were last
Come
with
on.
you all of 2 minutes ago. I know, Brady, I can't believe it, but I wanted to bring it up because we might get a scoring change. Only 20 seconds to go in the opening half between Michigan and Texas, and Michigan 3rd and 3 out to the Texas 43. So not too far away, obviously, from field goal range, and Michigan is getting 2.5 right now. Everything just locked up on me. Otherwise, I would give you the latest total. Maybe that means
Field goal.
some monumental moment.
No,
in
they
the
already
game.
had 17. My bad.
Yeah,
Michigan
they already had the 7.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
so even money on the money line. It's unlocked. 61.5 is the total. We're looking at 34 points, and again, maybe some more in the final 20 seconds of this half. We will see. Once again, you have Miami and Ohio State quarterfinal round of the college football playoff coming up a little while from now, a little less than 3 hours, but certainly exciting couple of days in the world of college football. With that one game today, you got a few more coming up tomorrow. What are you watching for across the college football playoff, whether as a bettor or just as a sports fan, pure entertainment?
Well, I do want to say Arizona State got the ball back. They did get a stop. I'm not sure if Duke punted the football. It was 4th and 3 from their own 46. I have a feeling they punted it. So good job for Arizona State there after turning it over and then not allowing a score. So they're back in the driver's seat to take the lead here again on this upcoming drive, and now back to 4.5-point underdogs. I think that's still a good position. Well, I'm looking forward to the game later tonight. I think all of these matchups are very intriguing. Oregon, Texas Tech, I think, is fascinating. I want to see if Alabama shows up. You know, we saw Alabama play pretty darn well for most of the season. And then later on, as the season kind of wore on, we started to see some of their flaws. They really don't have a rushing attack at all, and that could be the death of them here against the Hoosiers, who have a very good run defense. I mean, Indiana is a very well-rounded team. I kind of like their side laying the points in that one. I'd love to see Alabama show up. I just don't know if they will. Now, they showed up. They've got a lot of NFL bodies on that team. And they showed up, you know, after giving up 17 points initially to Oklahoma. Then they woke up. But still, the lack of a running game and making this offense one-dimensional, I don't know if that can hold up. They're also this is absolutely noteworthy, Adam. I talked about the cold temperatures and possible moisture here in Las Vegas. Well, whatever we get in the way of weather typically comes from California. And Pasadena, it's raining today. They're expecting rain tomorrow. And who is, you know, a better team to deal with the rain? How about Indiana and that rushing attack? Again, we talk about Alabama's lack of a running game. If the weather gets wet and sloppy like we expect it to, this could be a one-way street for Indiana. I'm hoping Alabama shows up, but I like Indiana in that game. Ole Miss and Georgia, I think Georgia's really starting to find its stride. You remember, you know, we've been doing this every weekend all season long, and we've talked about how Georgia's defense wasn't what they used to was, right? You know, where did that old Georgia defense go that, you know, we saw win national championships? Well, a lot of those guys went to the NFL. But in the last 4 games, the Georgia Bulldogs have allowed on defense 10 points or fewer. So they're starting to find their stride, I think, on defense again. Now, we know Ole Miss is electric offensively. I kind of like the favorites in the later games, Indiana and Georgia. I kind of like the underdog tonight in Indiana, in Miami, and also with the Red Raiders and Texas Tech. I really like this team, Texas Tech. I think they're another very well-rounded team, probably the best defensive line in the country. I think Oregon's a very intriguing team, but I don't like the way they defended the run against James Madison in their last game out. We'll see if Dan Lanning has made corrections to right that part of the ship. But I think they're all great matchups. And, you know, you just hope that we get more of the same as the playoff continues to unfold. But so far here at the quarterfinals, I really like the 4 games we have in front of us.
Michigan missed its field goal try to take them into the half. So 17 apiece, Wolverines and Longhorns at the break there in the Citrus Bowl. We'll continue to keep you posted. But as far as the chase for the college football national championship, like you said, some compelling teams, compelling games. The odds makers obviously look at this, and It's weighted appropriately, I would say. You're getting plus money across the board, but obviously shorter numbers on the better teams. Ohio State is sitting at plus 200. There's been some movement. For instance, I looked about a half hour ago, it was plus 190. Now I'm seeing a full 2-1. Indiana at plus 300, Georgia at 5-1, Oregon 7-1, and Texas Tech is just inside 10-1 at plus 950 before you start to get to Alabama and Miami and Ole Miss with the longest odds at 22-1. It's interesting seeing a team like Alabama just in general. I'm not even talking about this year's team specifically, and I have been someone who questions Simpson, DeBoer, that group all throughout the year. So the fact that they're even sitting here, the Crimson Tide, probably to at least some small degree does surprise me. So I'm not surprised that we're looking at 17-1, but in a general, hey, it's Alabama. It's, I think we still associate this university in the way that we talked about it with Nick Saban all of those years and all of those national championships. You see Alabama at 17-1, something just feels wrong. And instantly people are going to run to a number like that and say, well, there's value. It's Alabama. Where do you find value on the board, if anywhere? Or do you think, it's going to be tight to the board, whether Ohio State, Indiana, whichever, one of these teams winds up winning the thing?
Well, one thing you have to realize, especially like this time of the season in the NFL, not necessarily week 18 because it's so quirky, but when we get to the playoffs and when we get to the playoffs here in college football, at this point in the year, the lines are really good. The odds makers know every little nook and cranny about these teams. No matter how good a handicapper you are, there's not much that you're seeing that the odds maker is not. So you expect these lines are going to be very sharp. The 2.5 is probably, I think, a move. Obviously a market move. I kind of like the other way. I think there's some value in Texas Tech. And I think there's some value on Miami. I think there's some value on the two dogs with really good defenses. Other than that, the Georgia and Indiana feel spot on to me.
Okay, more on the way. Again, we'll have more guests. We'll get to more in the world of NFL. I want to touch on Survivor with Brady leading into this.
The champagne pops. The clock strikes 12. But New Year's isn't one at midnight. It's one on the gridiron. Every snap, every number, every edge that matters. Don't just watch the ball drop. Watch the odds drop. College football playoff coverage. Live lines. Smart analysis. All New Year's Day. Only on SportsGrid.
I mean, they couldn't get the Arizona State coach to come out. They couldn't get the BYU coach to leave their job. I mean, it's just very odd, I feel, when we watch this whole thing play out and try and really understand what happened here with Michigan not being able to make some of the splashier hires that they thought they were going to be able to make.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
They have by far the highest ceiling out of any team in the league. Elite talent, NBA shot making, versatility, and the best coach in the league in John Shire. They can beat you in multiple ways. Half court, full court, running gun, walk it up. And they out-execute you, maybe except for that game versus Texas Tech.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid. I know exactly what Patriot Nation is screaming this morning. It's Drake May time. Give him the trophy. MVP. Stop it, please. Just sit down. Yes, Drake May has had a nice season. But let's be real. He has played a JV schedule of defenses. He is carving up the easiest slate of defenses in the NFL this season. Congratulations on your beatdown of the Jets. The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Michigan and Texas again at the half, 17 apiece there in their contest. Nebraska, Utah, that's 17-14. Utah is now leading, and the Utes at the 44-yard line, their own, about 90 seconds to go in the opening half in that one. So we may see some more points before the break. We'll see. Duke, meanwhile, is back in the red zone here midway through the third quarter. This game has slowed down dramatically offensively, Brady. We saw 52 first half points, nothing so far in the third, but it looks like that's going to change with 7 minutes to go in this quarter. 1st and 10, ASU 13 for Duke, back to laying 8.5, the total 76.5.
Yeah, I'd take the 8.5, but it's like what we were talking about in the last segment where, sometimes it's great to bet the underdog for just the first half only. And oftentimes that valiant effort, that inspired effort, that feisty underdog, the little engine that could eventually can't over the course of the full game. And it kind of feels that way with Arizona State. They got the ball. They made that great stop, kept Duke off of the scoreboard, and then really sputtered on their counterattack. And now Duke right back down the other way to look like they're going to put another score on the board here. 1st and 10 on the Sun Devils 13-yard line. But that number is pretty big. Well, now it's down. Is it? No, it's 8.5. I thought it had gone down to 6.5. That's a pretty big number now. I mean, you got to remember this original number was 3.5, and it really has been back and forth the entire time. I think 8.5 is as big as we've seen the entire contest. So I think that's a pretty good take at this point.
Brady, let's mix in some NFL with Circa Survivor. Down to week 18 now, of course. You host the Las Vegas football contest show, available on SportsGrid on YouTube as well. People know how smart you and your guys are in talking about all things these contests, especially, obviously, this one that is now, we saw 3 entries eliminated, the Buccaneers, in week 17B, which leaves us with 6 alive in this final week of the regular season. And, at this point, implied value per entry north of $3 million. I mean, this is the time. What a time to be alive. And obviously some heavy favorites on the board, although questionable how many of those are available to the various people. I can let you speak on all of it, but I'm going to begin where I often do, which is, have we seen a chop? Do you envision we'll see a chop? Because it's almost $19 million these people are chasing, but down to 6, man. You want to guarantee yourself profit at this point if you haven't already.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I know if I was in this position, I would certainly be lobbying for a chop, but I have to believe behind the scenes something like that exists, but I've kind of heard to the contrary. And there has not been anything on social media that says a chop has taken place. And maybe we'll hear about all that after the fact, Adam. I think when you get to this point in a contest like this that is so black and white, and that's why I kind of like the against the spread contest better. I love Survivor because it's thrilling. But boy, if you have a bad week, you have an unlucky week, you're done and the contest is over. In the against the spread contest, the Circa Sports Million, the Super Contest, you have a bad week, you go 1-4, you go 1-5. That's not the end of your season. You can still come back, win a mini contest, whatever it is. You could still win the whole contest. Survivor is all or nothing. And I would think if you've made it this far, past Christmas, past Thanksgiving, past Christmas, all the way to the end of the year, if you've gotten by this far and there's been a lot of luck involved and you're not somehow monetizing what you have, and you talked about a ticket that's worth in the neighborhood of $3 million at this point, you're doing something wrong. So you got to believe something's going on with all these guys. I would hope. That being said, you look at some of the teams, there's 6 of the remaining 6 entries have the Atlanta Falcons left. 2 entries have the Cincinnati Bengals left. 1 entry has Jacksonville left. How about your Patriots? 1 entry has your Patriots left. 4 have Tampa Bay left. I mean, it's a tough point. Not only is week 18 hard, but who's a favorite that's guaranteed to win this week? New England? Buffalo? Nobody has Buffalo left. I think there's 1 on Chicago. Do you want to mess with that? We can get more on the other side here, but put it this way. I hope
you
they've
mentioned
got
Jacksonville and Cincinnati. those are a couple of good spots, but we can definitely
Yeah.
explore. Obviously, there are some heavily favored
But if you
teams.
don't have them, Cincinnati's got 2, Jacksonville's only 1. What do you do if you don't have them? 2 guys have New England, you know?
We can look at some of the other heavy favorites. We'll do that on the way. Utah is in with a touchdown, now laying 16.5. Hopefully you got in when we told you to at 6.5.
The champagne pops. The clock strikes 12. But New Year's isn't won at midnight. It's won on the gridiron. Every snap, every number, every edge that matters. Don't just watch the ball drop. Watch the odds drop. College football playoff coverage. Live lines. Smart analysis. All New Year's Day. Only on SportsGrid.
I mean, they couldn't get the Arizona State coach to come out. They couldn't get the BYU coach to leave their job. I mean, it's just very odd, I feel, when we watch this whole thing play out and try and really understand what happened here with Michigan not being able to make some of the splashier hires that they thought they were going to be able to make.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
They have by far the highest ceiling out of any team in the league. Elite talent, NBA shot making, versatility, and the best coach in the league in John Shire. They can beat you in multiple ways. Half court, full court, running gun, walk it up. And they out-execute you, maybe except for that game versus Texas Tech.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid. I know exactly what Patriot Nation is screaming this morning. It's Drake May time. Give him the trophy. MVP. Stop it, please. Just sit down. Yes, Drake May has had a nice season. But let's be real. He has played a JV schedule of defenses. He is carving up the easiest slate of defenses in the NFL this season. Congratulations on your beatdown of the Jets. The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Okay, we're looking at NFL Circa Survivor. Of course, we don't know who's going with which team yet this weekend. We'll get all that data coming up Saturday night when we are on, looking ahead towards Sunday. Just an early peek because it is such, one, a fascinating contest, but two, the most interesting time of it, knowing you are down to 6 entries still alive, chasing almost $19 million. And which favorites ultimately do you go with, knowing that you're not limited by anything more than the teams that obviously you've already used? But there are some teams that are available, as Brady was starting to outline, and I'll let him continue. But to give you the biggest favorites on the board, Cincinnati, 7.5 points at home against Cleveland. Minnesota, 7.5 points at home against the very much resting Green Bay Packers. It's the only way that line makes sense. Houston, 10.5 point favorites at home against Indianapolis. Jacksonville is a 12.5 point favorite at home against the Titans and still chasing the 2 seed and division title in the AFC South. Broncos are an 11.5 point favorite at home against the Chargers. The Patriots 10.5 at home against the Dolphins, and the Rams 7.5 at home against the Cardinals. Also the Bills 7.5 at home against the Jets. So Brady, it's not just that we have a lot of big favorites. One of the things that you really hope for in a contest like this, you've got gigantic home favorites. So as you pine through the numbers and dig through, what makes the most sense to you? What's the most attractive for these teams that are still chasing all that money?
Well, I'm looking at these entries. Obviously, there's 6 of them left. Dylan W seems to be in trouble here. He's got 2 choices left as available that are favorites: the Atlanta Falcons and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oof.
I definitely don't feel comfortable with Tampa Bay. I would feel a little bit better about Atlanta, but boy, that's a tough position to be in. Gary A has Atlanta available. He's got Kansas City available. Now that looks real attractive, other than the fact that no Patrick Mahomes, no Gardner Minshew. Yes, they are playing the Raiders, who are apparently being asked to have an investigation about tanking formally. And yeah, I imagine that's part of the conversation there in the building down the street at Allegiant. He also has Tampa Bay, and he's got the Patriots. You love that spot right there. America's favorite survivor alias, Adam, Juicy Coochie, has Atlanta left, Minnesota, and San Francisco.
For
that. Minnesota doesn't look like a bad one because it just appears that Green Bay wants to, just have this game end as soon as possible with no injury and that type of thing. Kick your knees up has Atlanta, Chicago, Cincinnati. So Chicago or Cincinnati is aside. They also have Minnesota. Cincinnati they also have Tampa Bay. I think the Bengals look like a good selection there. And then let's see here. Parts one, I guess. They've got Cincinnati. So, and then Real Bro has Jacksonville. That looks good. They also have Minnesota. So I think that's probably what you're looking at here. I don't know who Dylan W is going to select, Adam. It's going to be either Atlanta, you would assume, either Atlanta or Tampa Bay. My guess is he'll land on Atlanta. Gary A probably go with New England. Juicy Coochie probably with Minnesota. Kick your knees up with Cincinnati. Parts one probably with Cincinnati, and then Real Bro probably with Jacksonville. I would guess those are the 6 selections right there.
In the case of that first one, Dylan W., who you said was down to Atlanta and Tampa, and I don't know how anybody could.
He's got other teams, but those are the only 2 favorites he has left off.
No, I get it, but I don't know how anyone could comfortably go with a team like Tampa, obviously, which has now lost 8-9 games against the spread this year, and in many situations as favorites. All important game, division on the line, all that stuff. I get it, but not a team you could consider trusting. I guess if I wouldn't do this if I'm, let's say, comfortable rolling with a team like the Patriots, a double-digit favorite that's playing for something that I feel good about, all of that. But if I'm in Dylan W's position, and I know that Jeff Benson over there at Circa is great at working with these people that are remaining in the contest and lines of credit and all of that, with the implied value per entry north of $3 million now, if you are down to teams like Tampa and Atlanta, and whichever one you go with, assuming it's one of those two, unless you go with the dog, but I don't know why you would, you're not feeling great about it. But are you feeling so poorly about it that you are looking to hedge on that pick, to walk away with, again, ballpark $3 million if you can, and just go at it that way?
I say absolutely. And you're better off playing the favorite, whether it be Atlanta or Tampa Bay, and then hedging with the underdog, because you're going to get, plus 125-ish type, both
Correct.
Of these underdogs, I believe, are 3-point dogs, the Saints at Atlanta and the Carolina Panthers at Tampa Bay. Either one, the money line on the dog is probably in the neighborhood of plus 120, plus 125. So you're not having to lay a price.
Even better in the case of, I lost it on my screen. In the case of
plus 140 or so.
Yeah,
but that's
the Saints, high. Right around plus 145.
Great price. Then I would probably go with that one, being it's the higher number, right? Because then you don't have to lay money with the hedge. You can lay less, with the plus money price on the hedge, and I would absolutely do it. The only hard part here, and you can also spend some money in this market if you want as well, and Circa will put up this market for this very reason, is the tie. Will there be a tie? You can bet yes or no on that. And I don't know it's maybe minus 110 either way. I don't know what it is, but because if it does end in a tie, you lose. Ties lose in Circa Survivor. So you kind of have to make sure that's, buttoned up as well. Before you just put all your eggs in a simple hedge, what if it ends in a tie? Then you're really, up the creek because you've spent X amount of $1 million on a hedge and you just lost Circa Survivor. So you really kind of have to cover your end on that regard as well.
God, I can't even fathom. You lose Circa and you lose your hedge.
No, that would be bad.
Especially a hedge like that.
They tied.
That would, you're looking for a bridge at that point in time. A really fun contest just went into.
That's when you really hope you have chopped.
Yeah. God. Should be fun. I mean, if you were, you didn't have anyone available, obviously, but if you're sitting, as one of these 6 that you outlined and some of the more common teams that are left, like, I was Cincinnati 2, Jacksonville 1. I guess there's not a lot of, great spots. I'm looking at it too. Pardon me. Who would you feel the best about?
Wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind having Minnesota, Adam, because
interesting.
And your Patriots, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Cincinnati Bengals, they all look like they're going to win their games, but those are division matchups, and the underdog is going to come to play, and they're going to put up a fight. I don't think the Green Bay Packers are going to put up a fight. That might be the easiest one of all. The Jets are bad, but they're going to try. The Cleveland Browns are bad, but they're definitely going to try. And same with the Tennessee Titans. They're definitely going to try. Green Bay, I'm not sure if they even want to be there. That might be the easiest one.
Duke and Arizona, back and forth they go. Duke is up 35-32 right now, so you're already up to 67 points, 2.5 going third quarter in that one over there in the Sun Bowl. And Duke is with the ball. Michigan and Texas, third quarter is just underway. They are still even in the Citrus Bowl at 17 apiece. Utah up by 10 after a 17-0 second quarter. 24-14, Utes leading that one. We'll continue to explore these, talk through some of these individual NFL games from college.
The champagne pops. The clock strikes 12. But New Year's isn't won at midnight. It's won on the gridiron. Every snap, every number, every edge that matters. Don't just watch the ball drop. Watch the odds drop. College football playoff coverage. Live lines. Smart analysis. All New Year's Day. Only on SportsGrid.
I mean, they couldn't get the Arizona State coach to come out. They couldn't get the BYU coach to leave their job. I mean, it's just very odd, I feel, when we watch this whole thing play out and try and really understand what happened here with Michigan not being able to make some of the splashier hires that they thought they were going to be able to make.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
They have by far the highest ceiling out of any team in the league. Elite talent, NBA shot making, versatility, and the best coach in the league in John Shire. They can beat you in multiple ways. Half court, full court, running gun, walk it up. And they out-execute you, maybe except for that game versus Texas Tech.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid. I know exactly what Patriot Nation is screaming this morning. It's Drake May time. Give him the trophy. MVP. Stop it, please. Just sit down. Yes, Drake May has had a nice season. But let's be real. He has played a JV schedule of defenses. He is carving up the easiest slate of defenses in the NFL this season. Congratulations on your beatdown of the Jets. The early line, only on SportsGrid.
I check in on college basketball. So we've got Duke trailing Georgia Tech right now, the number 6 team in the country, sitting 11-1 at home, down by 4 points. It's very early in the second half. A lot can change, obviously, but Duke is not putting forth its best showing in its first ACC game of the season. Meanwhile, UConn is out to a big start, 16-4 at Xavier in this Big East matchup, about 5 minutes into that one. Meanwhile, Brady, out in Blacksburg, Virginia, Tech, a 10-point win against Virginia in 3 overtimes in that rivalry game, 95-85. I don't know what's more surprising to me, the fact that this game went 3 overtimes, which is not easy to do, or that when it did end, there was a double-digit winner. That kind of shocks me, actually.
Yeah, and you would think it would be on the favorite, right? But that was actually the underdog. The Cavaliers are the ranked team. They were favored. Great in-state rivalry game here. And Virginia Tech, the underdog, walks away as the big winner. Like you say, the double-digit winner. What an effort. College basketball, we're not even into the new year yet, and it feels like it's really starting to gain some steam. The college football playoff, obviously, we're well into the heart of that. We're going to wrap that up here pretty soon and crown a national champion. We've basically got, another 6 weeks of NFL football left. And I think all the while, college basketball really ramping up. We're starting to see conference play. We've got a couple of decent Big East games later on today. In fact, one tipping in about 45 minutes or so, DePaul and Villanova. DePaul is yet to win a conference game, and Villanova is starting to kind of find their stride a little bit. They've won 3 in a row, and then you've got a classic, Chris Mullen against Patrick Ewing, St. John's and Georgetown coming up a little later this evening, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. So I'm really starting to get fired up for college basketball. I made another futures bet the other night, Adam. I have 2 in pocket. I have 2 in pocket to win it all. One on Gonzaga. I got a nice number of 19-1. I have another on Michigan State. My number's not so great. You can find better. I got 25-1. And then the other night I bet Vanderbilt and 30-1. And that was the best number I could find. There were some 25s out there. They have a big game coming up. I want to say it's in the next 5 days or so. And I can't remember, but again, conference play starting up. So Vanderbilt, a loser today on the football field. Hopefully they put together some wins on the hardwood. But those are my 3 futures in pocket right now to win it all. I'll probably add one more, but I think I'm going to wait probably at least a couple, maybe a month before I add that 4th and final piece to my futures portfolio, if you will, in college basketball.
Do you think you will have any conference futures among these college basketball teams, or is it going to be all national championship?
I think I prefer to play it that way. I think the conference tournaments are real tough to handicap. I think you can and a lot of people, March Madness and the buzzer beaters. And in the end, when you get down to the Elite Eights and the Final Fours, a lot of it is the blue bloods. You rarely end up with a big-time long shot that makes it that far. And so I think it's a little bit easier to handicap, or at least guess, who's going to be there in the end. It's going to be the Dukes and the Kansases and the Gonzagas and the Michigan. Michigan looks unstoppable right now. It's not the right time to bet on them right now because the number is about 3-1. And who knows, maybe they'll roll the rest of the way and win this whole thing. Arizona looks really good. I think Gonzaga is right there as well, maybe just a tick below those 2. But I'm trying to find a good value team. UConn's in action. They're in action right now, right? Just tipped off.
Yeah.
They're a little bit challenged offensively, and they're really good on defense. And there's a lot of runway left too, right? We've got all the way until, early March before we really start getting into tournament action and conference tournaments. So I'm going to sit back and watch and develop some opinions here for the next month or so before I probably dive in. And maybe I'll do 2 more futures, but I have plans for 1 more for sure.
UConn was that team I was going to ask you about. And again, 24-6. Now the Huskies are leading Hurley's team, obviously, right? Years ago, last year took a step back, and now this year looking solid early at 12-1 and on their way here today. From our producer, Steven, he notes Vanderbilt plays number 14 Alabama next Wednesday. That's the one you were
That
trying
was
to
it.
think of.
I think that was the one I saw. Yeah. And that's a good litmus test right there. We'll see how good they are. Again, starting to get into conference play, Kentucky's and, some good teams obviously in that conference, and we'll see how they fare. But I like their balance. I like to look for teams that have a good balance. First of all, I like to look at really good defensive teams, Adam, and then I like to look at a team that is at least decent offensively. And Michigan State is probably the worst offensive team I have in my pocket right now, but I have faith that Tom Izzo will have his team become very competitive by the time it matters.
Brady, I'm not going to pretend teams are incapable of getting on runs and erasing deficits and even taking big leads in a hurry. I mean, these things, especially in today's basketball, be it NBA or college, it can ebb and flow real fast. But Duke is down 3, still 17 minutes to go, but laying 10.5. At what point are you interested in the Georgia Tech with the points side?
Well, you'd love to have that 27.5 from the original number at this point.
Well, of course.
Yeah, but hindsight's 2020, right? Let's see. What would I want to do at this point? 50 to 52, second half. Gosh, I don't want to take it, Adam. I mean, I've seen Duke do this for decades, right? I mean, It doesn't matter how down they are. It seems that they find a way to come back. Now, are they going to cover 27.5? No, but I could see them winning. And now it's down to 9.5. I might lay it now that it's under 10.
What I wonder about, maybe I'll look dumb, we'll still be on when this game ends, but 102 points so far. You've got 16.5, almost 17 minutes remaining. We're still looking for another 70 points in this game to clear that in-game total. That feels like a lot to me.
Yeah, and the offense is the question for the Yellow Jackets. It hasn't been a question today. I don't know.
Stay with
Hard
us.
to say.
We'll keep an eye on it. See if the number 16 in the country can figure it out. We'll also keep you tabs on the Duke football team.
The champagne pops. The clock strikes 12. But New Year's isn't won at midnight. It's won on the gridiron. Every snap, every number, every edge that matters. Don't just watch the ball drop. Watch the odds drop. College football playoff coverage. Live lines. Smart analysis. All New Year's Day. Only on SportsGrid.
I mean, they couldn't get the Arizona State coach to come out. They couldn't get the BYU coach to leave their job. I mean, it's just very odd, I feel, when we watch this whole thing play out and try and really understand what happened here with Michigan not being able to make some of the splashier hires that they thought they were going to be able to make.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
They have by far the highest ceiling out of any team in the league. Elite talent, NBA shot making, versatility, and the best coach in the league in John Shire. They can beat you in multiple ways: half court, full court, running gun, walk it up, and they out execute you, maybe except for that game versus Texas Tech.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid. I know exactly what Patriot Nation is screaming this morning. It's Drake May time. Give him the trophy. MVP. Stop it, please. Just sit down. Yes, Drake May has had a nice season, but let's be real. He has played a JV schedule of defenses. He is carving up the easiest slate of defenses in the NFL this season. Congratulations on your beatdown of the Jets. The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Man, entertaining game between Arizona State and Duke. Zona with another touchdown. We're looking at 39-35, minus 3.5 at even money now for Arizona State. A total, Brady, that with almost the entire fourth quarter to go has climbed to 87.5. Wildly entertaining game. But Duke basketball and Duke football putting together a couple of tight contests so far today. This one's going to end sooner than the other. I'm confident in the basketball team pulling it out, maybe even covering the number. I don't know what's going to happen here.
Yeah, I'm rooting for the Sun Devils. I'm an old Pac-12, Pac-10 fan, of course, and it seems like this year, Duke for sure, defense has been a problem. They've played a lot of quote unquote entertaining games. They give up a lot of points. That's not really been the case for Arizona State, but certainly the case today because they're missing a lot of personnel, but very impressive how they're hanging in there. And now they have the lead. And Adam, this goes to exactly what we were talking about much earlier in all these games, when basically all these games were in the first quarter. We said you could sit here and probably find yourself in a position where you have both teams plus money, nice plus money prices on the money line to win outright. And right now, earlier today, you could have had Arizona State. I want to say it was around plus 180 when we were talking about that. And now Duke is plus 134. You're presented with your situation right here and now. So, hopefully somebody out there has gone both sides of this game, because we're a long way from over. You've got almost the entire fourth quarter left. And if you're just playing the point spread, I'd absolutely take the 3.5 right now with the Blue Devils. A good number on either side here. We talked about Arizona State getting 8.5, getting 6.5, getting 4.5. Right now, those all look like good plays. I think Duke plus 3.5 is a great play too. Who knows? Maybe you could middle this darn thing. You might have this thing middled in more ways than one, against the spread and on the money line.
You're not kidding. And Arizona State at minus 172 on the money line. Duke at plus 134, getting the ball here at its own 25, plus 3.5 on that spread, 87.5, as we noted here, with 12.5 to go. So we'll continue to watch, obviously, this one. Michigan is up a field goal now, 20-17, and the Longhorns have the ball, first and 10 at their own 20, 5 minutes into the third quarter there. That total has been gradually dipping just a little bit. We're below 60 now at 58.5.
Yeah, this is what we thought might happen here too, because these teams are so defensively oriented and yet got out to such a quick pace in the first half. We saw it finally start to slow down there at the very end of the first half, and now it's really slowed down. There has not been, there's only been 3 points so far in, halfway through the third quarter. So I think it's coming to fruition what we were talking about, that this game specifically probably had the best chance of coming back down to earth, if you will, getting back closer to that original number, because of the fact that these are, teams that have not been really good all year offensively and feature a very good defense. And that's what we're starting to see play out here. We were talking about when this thing got to 60 playing under. Let's remember, this pregame total, relatively low for a college football total at 48.5. I would say that's a little bit under average. And now you're still at 57.5. I'd probably still play it under, Adam.
So just to keep a close eye as well on this Utah game, 24-14, the Utes, they have the ball as well, right around their own 40, first and 10, but looking for an 11th win, trying to win the Las Vegas Bowl, as we've mentioned, in your backyard, up by 10 points. You've obviously long since missed the best number, and now they're out to Nebraska territory at the 41. Utah is laying 17.5, Brady, so a greater number than what it was pre-flop, and well off of what we talked about earlier when you could still get in at minus 6.5. Congrats, obviously, to anybody who did. How you feeling about it now? Does there come a point with basically a full half left where there's a buy spot on Nebraska with the points?
I'm not so sure there is. And this is what we talked about with, having faith in the underdog for the first half only, and maybe they run out of gas in the second half. And it kind of feels that way, could be coming for the Nebraska Cornhuskers here. I would probably look for Utah to score here. Hopefully they get a touchdown. looking good for our boy, Rich Sermonello as well, who tipped me on Utah earlier in the week. Let's hope they continue. But I'd look for them to get a touchdown here. Let's see that total pop up a little bit more and then play it under, because Nebraska could be done for the afternoon. Utah might start playing some defense, and this might be all Utes the rest of the way.
I'm trying to figure out when I'm just going to start friend betting, blind betting, dogs with the points in the opening half. I'll tell you that.